Hey there, today is gonna be my Hotori guide. Let's go over her kit first. We have her basic attack, not much to say there, you're never really gonna use them. Then you have her skill, which is pretty important. You're gonna use her skill, and after you use the skill, you have 5 seconds to copy other skills, which is gonna be really important when we get to her ult. Once you have her ult, you're gonna press Alt and it's gonna use those 3 skills that you copied and stop time. And doing her ult, all her basic attack uses her ult multiplier. So you're just gonna auto attack, I think it's 10 times, and then she's gonna do her ult finisher attack. That is her entire kit in short, not much to it. So let's get into what skills you want to level first. Obviously you want to level the ultimate, because that's where all your multipliers are gonna come during the time stop. All the basic attacks, as I said, use the ult multiplier, so that's the only skill you really want to level. But if you for some reason want to level other skills, the next one would be her skill to level. That would be the next priority, and the last priority would be leveling her basic attack. Well, second to last. The actual last priority would be leveling her support skill, as you are never going to esper cycle on Hotori, as she relies on MC with the copy skill. So MC is always going to be who you cycle on. Then you have her life skill, which is really good for auction house if you want to speed 1 the Mammon cat. Otherwise, it's not really useful at all. It's mostly a whale life skill. Let's get into a team comp. We have the standard Blossom team comp. It just revolves around getting esper cycles and spamming Blossom procs. We'll get into that in the rotation. The next team is gonna be the Security version if they don't have Jiyuan. It's a bit worse than the Jiyuan version, but it is definitely playable if you don't have Jiyuan. Then the third team options, if you don't have any groupers at all, you can play a charge team to get more Hotori ults uptime. I wouldn't recommend this team, but it is another option. And for the last option, if you don't have Nanally main DPS, you can run it with Chiz, just for a raw damage team comp with Sakiri as a buffer in the empty slot. Then we have her weapons. The best one is obviously gonna be Signature, with crit rate, crit damage and attack on her passive. It's really good. The next best option is gonna be the store one for $3, attack and crit. Then it has increased Cosmo damage as the passive. The cycle intensity is wasted on her, but otherwise it is the second best option you can get. The first best option is gonna be a stat stick from the battle pass. It has really good crit rate and it gives increased attack, which is a really nice stat stick. For free-to-play options, we have the one from the police boss. It is basically just a stat stick that gives 15% extra damage to bosses. So it's good on bosses, not so good on AoE floors. Then you have Day Off, but charge efficiency doesn't work on Hotori, so I do not recommend this one at all. If we go into her build, she's gonna want Cosmo damage main stat and crit rate main stat. Preferably crit rate if you have her signature. Her substats is gonna be crit rate, crit damage, and then attack percentage in that order. And obviously she used Lost Radiance. Nanally is gonna use the Anima set bonus. She's gonna want Anima damage bonus and crit rate as main stats if you have her signature. Otherwise she's gonna be the same substats as Hotori, double crit with damage and attack percentage in that order as well. Then we are gonna have the main character here, which is gonna be our Blossom Cycler. So we want cycle intensity with Day Off for the charge efficiency, but you can also run Haniel if you are using Day Off on Hotori, or if you're not using Haniel anywhere else for her weapon. We are gonna run Hedgehog on this for the extra attack increase since Lost Radiance doesn't stack. The main stat you're gonna want is cycle intensity, and the only substat you care about is cycle intensity. But if you want to build your MC more, you can get 50% crit rate and then attack percentage as another stat. And those are gonna be the only 3 stats you really care about for your MC. A 4th substat would be universal damage bonus or crit damage. Then we have Jiyuan, who is also gonna have 2 build paths. We are gonna want to run anima damage bonus here, or hedgehog. Her main stat is gonna be anima damage bonus or crit rate. I recommend anima damage bonus. Her substat is gonna be double crit rate, attack percentage, and flat damage bonus. As I said, you can run hedgehog on her. If you do run hedgehog on her, you will run lost radiance on MC for higher lost radiance uptime, as Hotori can't have 100% lost radiance uptime herself. Then you're gonna run hedgehog on Jiyuan. You are gonna lose some Jiyuan damage, but you get more uptime on lost radiance. That's another option if you want to try that. Then we get into a rotation. We're gonna start with Hotori skill into MC ult, into MC skill, into Jiyuan skill, into Jiyuan ult. Make sure you cancel her skill will ult, and then you're gonna Nanally skill into Nanally ult. It's important you do the animation cancels so you have enough time to record all the skills in the 5 seconds from Hotori. This is the boss specific rotation. Once Hotori has full energy, you're gonna swap to her and use her ult into 3 plunge attack for a bit of extra damage. And then you're gonna use the 10 basic attacks to stack up her ult for the finisher. Once the finisher is done, you're gonna swap into MC. Then you're gonna use her ult if it's up. Swap into Jiyuan for esper cycle. Use Jiyuan's skill if you have it into ult. You should have the ult now, and then you're gonna use heavy attack on Jiyuan. Then swap back into MC. Use MC skill for esper cycle into Nanally skill. And then we are gonna stay on Nanally until 1/3 of her skill is done. Then we're gonna swap back to MC for the esper cycle. And then you're gonna swap into Hotori for the ult. As soon as Hotori ult is up, you're gonna swap to MC and then Hotori, and then you repeat that rotation. So let's go over to the AoE rotation, as it is a little bit different, as the boss rotation doesn't work on the AoE side, but the boss rotation does do Hotori ult 5 to 6 seconds faster, which makes the damage higher on single target. But you can't group the mobs for the boss rotation. That's why we're gonna use a AoE rotation. So for the AoE rotation, you're gonna start the same way, which is Hotori E, MC ult, MC skill. Then you're gonna use Jiyuan ult instead of skill here. And then you're gonna use Jiyuan skill second, so you can group the mobs into Nanally skill, into Nanally ult. That way we have the mobs grouped instead. But we lose a bit of damage, but that's fine because grouping the mobs is more important. Then we're gonna stay on Nanally until her skill runs out. And then swap into MC, use MC skill into Jiyuan for esper cycle. Into Jiyuan's skill to group the mobs, so Hotori can ult on the mobs, 3 plunge attacks, into 10 autos. It's important we do this rotation so we can group up the mobs before Hotori ult, as she is a big part of the team's damage if you have her build. After Hotori ult, we swap into MC. Then you're gonna use Nanally esper cycle, so the mobs stay grouped. And then once we are done with Nanally skill, we're gonna swap into MC. And then we're gonna swap into Hotori skill, MC skill, Jiyuan skill, Nanally skill, Nanally ult, and that's the repeat of the rotation. And you just repeat that over and over again. Now let's go over her awakenings. The first one I recommend is getting her A1. A6 is pretty strong as well. She gets 12% for every recorded skill, and for her C6 she get 30% target's defense ignore during time stop. The third one I will recommend is her A2, which is just gonna be flat 20% during her time stop, and then the A5 is gonna be 15% versus bosses for Hotori. So that one is gonna be the fourth one. Then we have the last two, which is gonna be, one of them is gonna be energy, which isn't really used right now. Maybe in a future comp, so I don't recommend getting this one. And the last one I definitely don't recommend either getting. So A4 is a really good stopping point, as you don't need anything else, but she does work perfectly fine at A0. You do not need any of her copies. Her awakenings is +1 to skill and plus 30% attack to the entire team as long as Hotori is alive, which is really strong. The only reason to go for C6 is for her awakening, otherwise A4 is just fine. Let's get into her bond. The most bang for your buck is gonna be Jiyu Family Brew, which is 100 points, but you save a lot of funds. If you do wanna level up a bond a little bit faster, I recommend Yellow Glaze, the 200 point one. You are gonna save 1 million funds on this compared to the 400 points one. But if you do wanna really whale for gifts, and for some reason I've ran out of shop bundles to buy the unlimited ones, you could whale for Golden Moon, but I do not recommend it. That is gonna be everything for the Hotori guide breakdown. I hope you enjoy and it helps you out in Beyond the Rails content. See you next time. Enjoy NTE.